Hi, I'm Naima Latif with an important Media Connection news brief. We're here at 69th and Marshfield, where a terrible crime has just happened. 3 men shot, one fatally, the other 2 still fighting for their lives at this moment. And we're waiting for mayoral candidate Carol Moseley Braun, who's going to make a statement about what she intends to do to reduce crime in the city of Chicago if she becomes mayor.
Oh, both of them dead! Oh, I thought one died. One!
Blood is still on the ground down the street here. This is also a location where I'm told Superintendent Reese was shot at during a fairly recent press conference. The fact of the matter is, the level of violence and murder in Chicago is absolutely unacceptable. We must do better. The fact of the matter is that the crime statistics that the police department published last week telling us, or trying to convince us that murders are down in Chicago, were misleading. They were misleading in a couple of regards. One, the level of violence has not decreased, and the number of drive-by shootings and the amount of random violence has not decreased. What has happened, in part, is that the technology is better, and so technology from our wars is keeping some of these young people alive where they might otherwise have died. With this shooting incident today, I'm told that one young man has died, and the others are in different conditions of health at this point. We're praying for them, we're praying for their families, and we send our condolences to the mother and the families of the young man who died. But I know I'm here today to say to you that as mayor, I will not tolerate this kind of conduct. We will take every possible means to see to it that these young people are not just out here to be violent and random and unemployed and unengaged and uninspired any longer. That we will do everything we can to engage communities, to connect communities with the people who are supposed to be serving and protecting them, to make sure that these young people have jobs. I mean, I'll bet you dollars to donuts the boys that were involved with this were all unemployed. And it's out of that this kind of random violence, this kind of terrorism comes. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that young men standing around with nothing to do, with no hope, are going to resort to this kind of conduct. My grandmother used the expression, an idle mind is the devil's workshop, and it still is. And so we are going to come together because this kind of violence hurts all of Chicago. It's not just this neighborhood. It's all neighborhoods. And when you consider the waste of talent, the loss of potential for Chicago that this kind of violence causes, it really shocks us. It should shock us, and it should make us redouble our efforts to fix the problem. We can fix the problem. This is not an insurmountable issue. This is something we can do something about. And I call on all Chicagoans to engage in the fight against crime, against this kind of violent crime, and to do what they can do to step up so we can provide jobs in the neighborhoods where these young people live. And that is my commitment to all of you and to the city. And I'm here again to give my condolences to the families and to say how absolutely unacceptable it is that we're bringing in the new year. This is the first part of the year. Early in the morning. And here we are with the drive-by shooting that leaves the children dead. It's just unacceptable.
New ideas would you bring to the problem?
Actually, some new ideas and some old-fashioned ideas, kind of back-to-the-future ideas. One of them is beat cops. I mean, my dad served on the police department at a time when the police and the community they served were connected to each other. You knew the officer in your neighborhood. You know, you knew who was there. And I remember on the block I grew up on, Miss Shepherd would tell your parents before anything. By the time you got home, your parents knew you had done something wrong. So that kind of community engagement will go a long way. A second thing, new idea, again, a back to the future idea, is to open up some stores and some businesses. Drive down this street, drive down 69th Street, 63rd Street, down Ashland. It's boarded up buildings. Now, the economy is bad, everybody knows that, but at the same time, there's no reason why our city assets are not better leveraged to help entrepreneurs and business people create businesses in these neighborhoods. It shouldn't be that hard for a person to get a job in Chicago. And in neighborhoods like this one, the unemployment rate is, I'd wager and I haven't taken the number, but I'd wager the unemployment rate in an area like this is better than 30%. And some of these ministers may have an idea better that it may be higher than that. But because once a person said to me as I was coming over here, oh, this sort of thing happens here all the time. That's just not
from the
acceptable.
neighborhood.
That's just not acceptable.
Yeah.
The tax releases that in terms of your release yesterday show, firsthand some of the struggles of entrepreneurs. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I'm here to talk about what happened here today with these young people. And again, I think that we can do what we can do as a city, as citizens, is to do what we can do to engage communities, to create jobs in these communities so these young people can have gainful employment and something constructive and positive to do, and that we can begin to make sure that law enforcement works better. To finish the question, because I hadn't finished the second part about new ideas in terms of law enforcement, in addition to the old-fashioned beat cop kind of deployment, when I was in the Senate, I passed midnight basketball. And the whole idea of midnight basketball was to let the police interface with young men primarily, but young people, in activities after school, activities into the night, so that they could become mentors to them instead of just trying to be tormentors, if you will. And so the mentoring relationship, the opportunities to connect police with the community, we're just losing and missing those opportunities needlessly. It won't cost any additional money. We can do it within the budget that we have already. We just have to do a better job with law enforcement, and I am committed, as I said earlier, I'm committed to doing that, and a first step will be to get somebody from within the ranks of the Chicago Police Department to run this department, somebody who knows these communities, who knows these streets, and is prepared to work with these communities to give us a safer city.
Any other new ideas? I mean, you've come here today to deplore the violence, which every citizen in Chicago does, to ask for the community to be engaged and to get some stores open in the area. Any other ideas of programs for public safety that you're introducing today?
Well, we introduced actually the other day, and you were there when we rolled out our programs, and include things like Silver Alert to pay attention to seniors who might go missing and that sort of thing. So we have an entire law enforcement platform, but I can tell you that law enforcement is a number one priority for me. When Roosevelt talked about the 4 freedoms, freedom from violence, safety was one of them. It's a fundamental matter, and until we get our arms around the law enforcement issues in this city, we will not be able to either grow jobs, protect our kids in schools, inspire young people. It gets in the way of everything. So again, I think that the first step is to get our arms around and begin to address specifically the random violence and the rampant crime in our communities.
You're not going to deal with the tax returns or anything in them, or how you were able to pay your bills with the income you show. You're not going to deal with that today.
I already have. There's a statement. You have it.
I have the statement.
Yes,
but you
that's
didn't
all
say
there is to it.
You didn't say how you could pay your bills with the income you had while you were struggling with your business. How can you pay the bills on $15,000 in income?
Well, you know something, and that's the last question actually, but let me say this. What is your outlet? Which you work for
For CBS.
CBS, I'm sorry. Well, some of you may work for the Tribune or the Sun-Times, and as last time I looked, the Tribune was in bankruptcy. We did fine. I struggled. I didn't fire anybody. I didn't lay people off. I did the best I could, and I made that little business work, and it's still working. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.